Hello everybody. So I thought I'd do a little bit of extra streaming. I've finally almost got all of this what do you call it, flex stuff done. I've literally been working on this for about 2 weeks now because I want to make sure that I can teach flex properly. And it's just so difficult to teach because you want really simple examples, but you want stuff that actually looks good. Um yeah, so anyway, I'm trying to keep it as simple as I possibly can. This is where I'm up to. I've basically been working on these sort of feature sections, um, and I finished up with that. And before that, I was working on the hero section. So here that is here. Yeah, so that's this is the hero section that we'll be building, and then this is the feature section. And what I discovered, I finally come up with this sort of this process for building layouts, and this is the process here. I've got it all written down. And yeah, so basically I'm trying to use that as a learning tool. And it's just a learning tool for me as well, because I always find layouts extremely difficult to wrap my head around. So being able to sort of break it down into something like this makes it easier. So I'm going to push on with this, and you guys can sort of watch over my shoulder if you're interested in that sort of thing. Sort of have a look at the process I've been going through to build this. And now that that's done, we can say v-if is equal to false for a couple of these, and then start pushing on. Set that all to false. This one, too. Just an easy way to turn them on and off. And now I'm going to start working on the call to action section. Luckily, this one should be a whole lot easier. So let's say Quasar new component, and I think I'm going to call it landing call to action. I've already built a few duplicates of these components in my journey of trying to get it all sorted. So let's throw that in there. Landing call to action section, and then basically I'm just going to comment out all of this, cut it, and then whack it into that new section. So I created that. Let's come down here and say import landing call to action section from components / landing call to action section.view. Sweet. Now I can just whack it in there, save it, and if I jump into that component, I should now be able to, oh, am I not using it properly? I need to actually use it now. Landing call to action section. So let's dive into that component and just whack that templating in. And there we go. So the way I've been teaching this is basically to say, oh, apparently the bitrate I'm using for my streaming is not good. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Let's see if I can change that. I mean, I kind of half know what that means. Let's have a look here. Maximum video bitrate. What does it say? 1649 is what it's currently at. So I should be able to stream. It looks like my internet might just be letting me down here. So hopefully that's going to fix itself and you guys are getting a decent experience. Anyway, so we got this... basically what I've been trying to do is show the layout first, which is why this is really basic and kind of looks stupid for now. And then the idea is we then remove these background colors and then work on the styling from there. So yeah, let's just open this up. So create a skeleton with fake heights and background colors with all columns set to extra small. I've already done that here. So we come down here, we can see I've set the columns to extra small. There's another one there, because you want to start from the smallest size and then build your way up from there. And what's the next step that I need to do now? Add content to the skeleton. So I've actually already done that in this scenario, simply because it wasn't difficult to do. There wasn't much content to do. Make it responsive. And it says here, never change widths or margins of a column. So if you change the widths or margins of a column, that will mess up the way Flex works. So it's always better to wrap things instead. I might even say here, if needed, wrap it instead. And so this is where we set the columns in order to make the displays look good on different sizes. So let's go ahead and try and do that. If I go full screen here, all right, we can see that it doesn't quite look right. So let's deal with different sizes here. So that looks good to me. Looks good. By that point, I probably want to change it a little bit. So how about we add one for small? We'll say column small is equal to, we probably want to make that number a little bit smaller now. So maybe we'll make that 7. And we might even want to add an offset as well. Yeah, so I probably want to keep this as maybe 3 and then put an offset here. So let's just see what that looks like to begin with. Yeah, that's probably about right. And then when we get to medium, we'll sort of we'll flip it again. So let's go column medium 9. Oh no, this number should be getting smaller. So let's make it 6. Yep, so that looks good. And then when we get to large, we'll probably make it smaller again. So how about we say column large, might even go all the way down to 4 there. So let's go full screen because that's going to give us large. And I don't think I can even do extra large on this, but that's starting to look good to me. So the only other thing I need to do is set an offset here, or maybe rather than setting an offset, we just center the whole thing. Yeah, so how about we just say here, justify center. I think that's going to work. So now when we go to extra small, that'll be fine. But now once we get to small, it just gradually makes it smaller and smaller as we hit larger sizes. Yes, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just make sure that extra large still looks good. So I'm going to have to do something like this and move on to my second screen. Yeah. Now the last thing I'll do is give it basically a maximum width. Or maybe if we just align this to the right and sit it right next to there and align this to the left, that'll look good. Yeah, okay, let's try doing that. So let's come in here and we'll see if we can throw that button onto the left. So rather than flex center, maybe we can say, we'll make it a row and we'll say, justify start. All right, so that's sitting at the start now. We're going to have to wrap this inside of a div in order to get rid of that stretching of it. And then we'll say items center, which is then going to center it down. All right, that looks good to me. But does it look good on extra small? Yep. I think it does. We might just want to, on extra small, I might just want to change this from a 9 to a 8. And then change this from a 3 to a 4. Give it a bit of extra room so that maybe it won't wrap. Yeah, let's go with that. I think that looks good. It kind of follows it all the way along. And if we go full screen, that's still probably going to look good. And then if we go to an extra large screen, I think that will still probably look good. Cool. All right, so that's that step done, which is the, where is it? So we just said, we just made it responsive by changing the column sizes. So now we want to set the positioning and aligning for the content. So the content itself now, we want to change the positioning and the aligning there. And that's these, all right, so basically I wanted to change this to its own step. So I'll make sure that when I'm teaching that, we put that in its own step. But I've kind of already done that. And we also want to have a maximum width. So when we're on something that's really, really large, so we've got lots of text there, which we kind of do here, and it's on an extra large size. Where's extra large? So that's extra large. In that scenario, yeah, we probably just want to put a max width on this so that it reads a little bit nicer. So let's jump into here, and where will we put that max width? I think we want it on this text here. Yeah, we do. So let's come here and say style equals max width, and I might say maybe 450 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, there we go. All right, I think that's pretty much always going to look good now. What happens if I get rid of that? The problem is we might get rid of some of the centering there. Is that still centered? I can't even tell because of those different colors. No, it's not still centered. So it probably doesn't make sense to have a max width on there. You kind of want a max width on the entire thing. So let's say style is equal to max width 450 pixels. Let's try that. No, you can't. You don't want to mess with the width. I said this before. You never want to mess with the width on a row, or on a column. So why don't we just wrap this in a div then? and then set the max width on that. Okay, this might work. And if we go full screen, now we just want to make sure that it is aligned to the right side. So how about we say, what if we put this equal to full width, and then we say align text right, so that the text moves over to the right. Okay, I think that's looking good now. Looks like it blatantly didn't do what I told it to. Why have we got that margining in there? What's going on? Okay, so it's probably better that we use flex here. So how about we get rid of that? We make this its own flex, and then we say, we make it a row. That's probably better. And then we say justify end. Let's go with that and see how that looks. All right, that looks good to me. Nice. And then when we go to fullest sizes, it still sort of aligns properly. All right. I think I'm happy with that. So now let's go back here. I've made it responsive. Set the positioning and aligning. The last thing we want to do is the styling. So when I go to styling, that's when I remove all of these weird sort of color stuff going on here. So let's get rid of that background red. Let's get rid of that background red. And let's get rid of this background red. Save that. And there we go. Now we want to have a background on it of our choosing. So by default, we might make it primary. That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, and to keep it flexible, what we can actually do here is, you know what, we'll just do it as a class. So we'll say, what I can do is turn all of these into strings now. And I just want to have a dynamic background color for this. Or maybe it should always be the same. No, I want to be able to change it. So now we can put commas in here. And then we can say here, background color is what will slot into there. So now if I come down to the props, I don't have any yet, so let's come down here and we'll say props, and then we can say the color is equal to, we'll go primary by default. Oh, whoops. That's meant to be an object. Type, string, default, primary. Let's go with that. What doesn't it like? Oh, that should be an array. Ha! Is that what I called it? Background color? Yeah, it should be background color. Background color. By default, it's primary. So that should actually say here $. Let's do it this way. We have to add a BG before it, like that. And there we go. So we get the background color. And next, we want to make that white text as well. So let's say text. In fact, one thing I learned recently is you can actually do this. I don't need to turn these all into their own string. We can actually do this. Check it out. I didn't know this till recently, but they can just be their own string like that. Yeah, it still works. And now we can say text dash white. And there we go. We probably also want a color here. So how about we have a button color as well? So we've got the background color. Let's say button color. That'll be a string, and we'll set it to secondary by default. Whoop, spelled that wrong. Secondary. Button color. And the color here is going to be equal to that button color. Nice. That looks good. Looks good in a whole bunch of different sizes as well. And now let's view it in context, and then we can move on. So we can do that by just changing all of these v-ifs equal to true. And there we go. One to do app to rule them all. Some features. And then we've got this little call to action section down there. And it's going to look good no matter what our screen size. That does not look centered. Why doesn't that look centered? What's going on here? Yeah, honestly, the best way to do this is probably not even with flex, now that I think about it. Yeah, you know what? It really just makes more sense. Here, let me show you how I might tackle this problem. Why don't we just stick them in their own div right next to each other and get rid of the whole concept of flex here? All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Sometimes you just don't need flex. We got our heading in there. Let's get rid of all of that and just see how this works out in the end. All right, so yes, they're going to be in their own row. So we're still using a little bit of flex here. But if we say here justify center and we also say items center, now that's all set correctly. And why don't we just set a width on this entire thing, a max width on that? So now what we could do is wrap all of this like that, and then we can say style is equal to max dash width, and then we'll say, I don't know, 450 pixels, something like that. So that's probably overboard, maybe like 650 pixels. 700. Yeah, I think 700 is probably a good amount. So maybe we set a max width on this as well. Max width is equal to, I don't know, 550 pixels. In fact, maybe we could just only set it on that and see what that looks like. Yeah, and once again, that's still too big to me. So maybe like 450. All right, that looks good. And maybe now we can just say full width on that. Maybe that means that we're going to then get the button in there. Okay, why is that button not showing? Let's dive in and take a better look. I want you to see that as well. In fact, I might actually throw this back in. This is really annoying having it as a separate window. Let's dock it on the bottom there like I'm used to. Try refreshing this page. What on earth? It looks like we've got a width on the... Oh, my whole browser seems to be stuffing up. Let's get rid of that. Wait. Copy that. Close this. Paste it in there and see if it's working. Yeah, something weird went down then. Yeah, okay, so something weird's going on here. Oh, it's because that's set to full width. No, it's not because that's set to full width. Man, see, this flex stuff still confuses me sometimes. That shouldn't matter because this is sitting in there. That's not flex anymore, so I can throw the button directly in there. It's probably because this is a H4. Yeah, okay. It's because this is a H4 which automatically takes up the entire top row. So basically maybe we do need to put some flex back on here. Just trying to think, I want the simplest way possible so that when I teach this, it's not sort of convoluted. All right, well, let's have a crack at that. We'll just have a play around and see what we come up with. We'll put that in its own div and give it a class equal to column. And maybe if I make that a column and then throw the button directly within that column, it'll distribute them. No, that's not going to work. They need to be on their own columns, but we kind of want to get rid of flex now. So maybe I just need to change the display of this to something else. Wait, what? What did I even do? Why did that just work? What did I have before that stopped that from working? Oh, it's because I wrapped it in its own div. Okay, so if I take it out of its own div here, and they're all just individual children of that row, it works. And now I can go full screen, and that still looks good. All right, and if we go super small here, we might even just click on this mobile button. I seem to be losing the button now. Why am I losing that button? Let's come down to the bottom, and see what happens to the button. I don't know why I would be losing it. Just sort of like gets ignored and disappears into the ethos. Let's see what happens when I wrap that within a div. There might be some weird styling on the button that's making that happen. No, that gives us the same result. What happens if I put a column on here? Nothing. The whole thing is just wacky. Let's put a column on both of these. I mean, that's the other thing we could do. We could put a column on both of these and try and center it. No, that doesn't work either. Man, this is good though. The good thing about this is that it seems that my examples are hitting every single possible problem that you can hit with Flex. So let's go back to this. I think there might be a simple solution here. The only thing I'm losing out on is that when I'm on a device like a Motorola, or let's go to a Pixel 2. Weird. So now it shows up there. So what's different there? Maybe it was like just some glitch in the way that it shows. All right, that actually is working. I don't know what was going on there. Let's jump out of mobile. Let's go to small screen on here. And that is still working. So we probably want that text to be centered. Looks like we've almost hit the end here. You know what? I think we could probably afford to make that bigger. Maybe like 650. Let's go for that and see what that looks like. I mean, in this example, it looks a bit weird because of the amount of text there is. Let's try 700. Looks like that did nothing. All right, let's try 800. But that's probably getting a bit big now. I don't know. I think that looks good. Yep, that does look good to me. So now that that's done, let's just double check that it still falls really well. Yeah, now let's see if we can center this text. Can I just throw in text center, or is that going to mess with my other styling? Let's say text-center. Save that. All right, so it looks good there. Looks good on full screen. Looks pretty good on max screen size. Let's just play around with this a little bit more. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Last thing I'll do is change the size of this button to large. And now I think I'm ready to move on. Yep, cool. Okay, one last thing. I'll probably add a little bit of margining of this. Margin or small has already been set. But that means that we're getting like some super distance between those two. So maybe I can put some margin on the x-axis for this heading here. So let's say Q-margin X and set that to small. Yeah, that pushes it across a little bit. But it means that when this falls down, this is still nicely centered. Maybe even medium there. Let's go with that. See how that looks. Yep, cool. All right, I'm happy with that. The landing call to action section is done. And now we could say v-if is equal to false. And let's set all of these bad boys equal to false. Nice. Now we've got nothing, and we can move on to the next section, which is the testimonials. So let's enable all of that. There's our testimonials. Whoops. Save it. Nice. And we've got the layout for our testimonials section, and we can start playing around with this. All right. So how about we call this landing testimonials? We'll say Quasar new component landing testimonials. By the way, if anyone wants to say hi and let me know where they're from, go ahead and do it. I would love to say hi back. And I've only got 20 minutes left, so let's see if we can knock this out in 20 minutes. However, I'm somewhat doubtful because this is probably going to have a lot of little edge cases that we have to deal with. All right, so let's come in here, grab all this markup, cut it, and we'll say landing This is a really difficult word to type. Landing testimonials. There we go. Let's just jump into the landing testimonials. And then just whack it straight in there. Oops. Save it. And now let's import that by coming down here and then I might whack that in there, paste that down, paste that across, and then just whack it in here. Sweet. So I've saved that, and it looks like nothing's changed, which is good. So let's get rid of that just to check it is working properly. Yep, okay. Looks like it is. So we can jump in there, and let's jump through our to-do list. So first, we create the skeleton with fake heights and background colors with all columns set to extra small, and I believe that's exactly what we've done here. So let's have a look. Columns all should be set to extra small. Yes. So we've got a basic skeleton that we can work from. Next, add content to the skeleton. We actually already did that as well. So we've got content in the skeleton. I probably want to make the content... Oh, actually, no, we don't, because we want to have some more information about these testimonials. And I've got like this little sample thing that I've been working on, so I might use this as a reference point. Basil Tingle, there he is, the man himself. So we've basically got an image and then like this little line, the person's name, and then the content. So let's throw that back over here. Don't need that anymore. So what did I say? Image, name, and then maybe we'll call that like text or body. So let's come down here, and we'll add in some properties. Props. Hey Luke, nice to see another dev struggle with design with Flexbox. I know. I've always learned I overthink things too often because fixing things always means reverting some stuff I thought should work, but doesn't. Yeah, I know, right? And that's why I really want to drill down on what is the process what's a good step-by-step process I can go through so that I know it's always going to look good. And that's why I'm working on this here, because I'm so sick of myself, creating redundancy when I do Flexbox and like ending up with just crappy code. So I've got this list here and I'm trying to refine it and make it work for my needs. So, all right, so let's come back in here. And I believe I said we want an image source. That's going to be a string. The default value there, we'll set that to our default image source, which we already have, which is our good friend Basil. Where are you, Basil? Where are you? No, seriously, where is he? Oh, I haven't actually got the image in yet. Basil. Oh, man, I forgot how to do this. Hang on. Importing images is something that I always forget how to do. You have to like say, you know what? Let's just see if I can do it here. Let's say tilde, and I believe it's assets / and then basil-testimonial.jpg. Basil-testimonial.jpg. So let's see if that works. Let's take this image source, and we want the image source to be the first thing. Where is it? Oh, and by the way, we've repeated a lot of these here for each of the testimonials, so we can actually get rid of that and get rid of that, so we've only got the one. There we go, so we've only got the one now. And then once we've got this right, we'll start iterating over it. Actually, you know what? No, I think that kind of breaks this rule here. Make it responsive. Oh no, okay, so we'll add the content and then we'll make it responsive. So I just need to make sure that after I've got the content in there, we treat that as the next step. Just to be consistent with our methodology here. Okay, so let's change this to a q-image, so Quasars image, and we'll set the source equal to image source, which is whatever's passed in there. And we've got the default set to assets. I don't think this will work, by the way. Yeah, so by default that doesn't work because I think I actually need to import it. Doesn't seem to be any streaming problems. Okay, that's good. I'm getting a weird warning sign here, so that's good to know. I think when you say default, like when you have a string like this, unless it's put directly in the template, it doesn't work. In fact, we might as well test this properly. So let's come up here and find the image source. Here it is here. Yeah, so it works when I put it in directly, because it means that the compiler can pick that up. However, if I throw it in like that, it doesn't work. So the way we get around that is we actually have to import this image here. So this needs to be an imported image. So I'm going to cut that. And I think the way I can do this is by simply saying that's a function that returns import and then the image, like so. What have I done wrong here? Okay, that's right. I think when you're importing, you have to get rid of the tilde. Man, I've screwed this up so many times in my life. Landing. Okay, let's see. I have a testimonials thing that I was working on before. So let's look up image. Okay, so I said require assets with no slash. So I used the word. Let's go back there. So I literally just did an immediate require there. So that should return a promise, which then gives me the image. Return require. I don't even need to say return, actually. Just require the image. There we go. That's what we need to do. I need to add that into my brain somehow. It needs to be on one of my lists of things to remember. The importing, see, this is one of those things, the importing with Quasar, it actually makes perfect sense. Even though it's confusing, there's kind of no way around the complexity, because in order to display images in the optimal way, it needs to basically know where this image is coming from. And if we had that as a plain string and we don't know where that string is coming from, then it can't do its optimizations behind the scenes for images, which is why you need to set that to at least a direct string, or you need to require it like this so that Quasar can do some pre-processing. So that actually does make sense that we need to do it this way. Anyway, I'll explain that at some other point down the line when I do like a video on images. All right, so I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I've got 15 minutes to get this done. So we've got a div here with the image. We should probably then have a div with the person's name. So how about we just add the props in first? And we'll say name here is equal to type string default is, let's say, Basil. What did I call him? I called him Basil something. I don't know. Let's give him a new name. I don't know. We'll be consistent here. Basil Tingle. Basil Tingle. There he is. And then we want his actual testimonial. This to-do app made it way easier for me to stay on track. You're welcome, Basil. He's not actually a real person. So then we could say here, what did I call it there? Quote. Yeah, that's probably a good word. Quote. The type will be a string. And then let's set the default equal to that string. And there we go. What's the problem here? Type string. Spelled default wrong. All right, so now we can start slotting that stuff in. This div is simply going to have name, and then right under that we'll have another div that is equal to the quote. And should I put the quotes in, or should we leave that to? No, we should leave that to the parent to do that. I think it's better to leave it to the parent, but just in case they don't want to use the quotes, or they want to like add something else in there. So we'll do that. Now, the next thing I want to do is turn this into a column so that it all displays correctly. So what have I done here? I've said here flex justify center. Why did I do that? I'm sure that I've got a reason. So what I might do is I might take all of this, wrap it in a div, and this is going to be a column. And by setting that to a column, it's now going to display one after the other like that. So that's what I wanted. I don't know why it's not sort of pushing the content down though. What am I up to here? Make it responsive. Never change. Yeah. Am I up to that? No, I'm up to add content to the skeleton. So really, I don't even want to do any of that. This would be... this here would be me done with that step, except for the div part. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, sweet. So that's what I would have done next. Just added the content in, and then you make it responsive. So never change the widths or margins on the column. If needed, wrap it instead. So wrap, I'll say in a div instead. And now we add the columns and that kind of stuff. And I'll put another one in here called column. Like that. And now what I might actually do is go one level deeper. So this is testimonials, plural. I might grab one of these and set it in its own component called testimonial. So let's cut that. And then we can say here, Quasar, new component, we'll call it landing testimonial. Testimonial. And there we go. And now that's actually going to have to be the one that takes in all of these props here. So in fact, we can cut the whole prop thing. Whack it in there. Why am I getting an error there? Okay, it says it doesn't exist on the type, but I think that's because my linter just hasn't updated yet. Let's go back again. Yeah, there we go. Linter was just spazzing out a little bit. And now we can say here, import landing testimonial, singular, from component slash landing testimonial dot view. All right, so let's take that, and then we'll say here, components, and whack it in there. What do we got here? Are the steps you were taking something you got from someone else, or just something you've come up with for training on how to make things work from a design perspective? Yeah, this is something that I've come up with myself, and I'm currently iterating on, because I've never seen anyone, maybe somebody does it, I've never seen anyone describe Flex in such a way that I can easily turn it into a process for creating the layouts that I want. So basically, I'm trying to create and refine a process here that is for myself, and frankly, something that I can just teach to other people as well. So I can be like, hey, if you follow these steps for creating your layout, you will be able to create any layout that you desire. And if I can distill that down into a few videos, I think it would be super handy. So that's why I'm sort of creating this building layouts list thing. And by the way, I've got a podcast coming out in a few days that kind of talks about my process behind that and why I decided to do it. So the reasoning is, if I scroll up here, this is kind of a hint at the podcast. It's called This is why some devs can build so quickly. And the reason is that some developers have processes for every single scenario that they need. So and one of the scenarios that I have not figured out yet is, what is my process for Flex? I have a really good process for so many other things, like handling jobs in the background using Laravel, handling data on the front end, sending data to the back end and keeping it in sync with the front end data. I have like processes for all of that, but I don't have, and I've written here, like, this is my process for doing the dishes. This is, and that's why I'm working on this process for building layouts, because I don't have one yet, and I found that it's been slowing me down. And if I want to be a fast developer, if I want to be able to build things that people want me to build fast, and in a way that's reliant, in a way that looks good, that works well, that's reproducible, then I need to have a process. And that's what I'm working on in this video, working on that process. And I've got about 8 minutes left, so let's see what I can get done in the next 8 minutes. Landing testimonials. So we can now whack that in down here. It's not a div. And there we go, there's Basil, and now we can start working on the next step, which was making it responsive. So this is doing stuff like adding columns and all that jazz. So before I make, actually, technically, see, this is a tough one. Making it responsive, this like adding a column to this, so fixing the layout of the content itself, really that should be up here. Add content to the skeleton. So stuff like that. What else was I doing when I was adding content? Q-image, divs with text, stuff like that. And so let's finish now adding this column in here, and I'll put that on the bottom because that's kind of something that is rarer. Yeah, I think that this should be in adding the content, because this column is not going to change. And so if I come up here and I now say flex justify. Okay, so that's column extra small. I'm kind of losing myself now. Div, and let's turn that into a column. There we go. So everything's kind of like displaying correctly now. And I might also add a horizontal rule in here. So we can say HR, no, what is it? Q separator. Let's add that in. And I think there's something on there which is like, it's got its own margining, but I usually like to do it manually. So margin Y, set that equal to small. So there's our separator there. And so I'd say that's me done adding in the content. So I can move on to the next step, which is making it responsive. And so in order to make it responsive, we're going to need a few more of them, like so. And so when they're sitting on top of each other, that's one thing. But then when we go wider, it really should then break. So how about we add in here? Let's jump into I don't know. I really think that some of these classes should probably sit on the parent. Should they? Shouldn't they? Okay, justify center. Do we even need these anymore? Let's get rid of them and see what happens. Okay, yes we do. But really it kind of belongs in the parent though. It's saying in the parent, yeah. Just having this conversation with myself. So let's get rid of it from there. And let's add that onto here for each of these. Man, I love my linter. How it just does all the work for me. This is worrying me though. So this green part here is meant to be showing me. Okay, so that's that background green is just. That's for this section here. But then this background green should be covering all of this as well. So why isn't that taking up the space? Oh, it's because I've set a height here for when I was doing test data. Okay, there we go. That's looking good now. Next, we want to make it break when I go across. So we can do that by saying, how about we say column small. Let's start with small and just see what that looks like. And we'll set that equal to 4. 1 for each 4, 2 fours are 8, 3 fours are 12. Yep, so on small, that's a bit squidgy to me. That doesn't look good to me. So I'm going to set that equal to medium. All right, so that spacing I think is good for small. Unfortunately, it gets a little bit much there. But then when we get to medium, it breaks in. Okay, so then once we hit to medium and we go a little bit larger, now it gets a little bit too separated for my liking. So what I might do is set a maximum width. I might put all of this within its own row and then set a maximum width on that. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We can get rid of this now. Oh, this is going to be hard to test with on one screen. But if I go start, yeah, okay. If I press the start button and press up, I can very easily switch between those two. So basically, I want this to be its own div and its own row. Okay, so now if I go full screen there, yeah, there we go. That's its own row. And I want it to be full width. Actually, we don't want to say full width there. We want to say, we want to give it a maximum width. Style is equal to max width. And maybe if we set that to something like 1000 pixels, that's probably a good starting point. Let's see what that looks like. And now if I go full screen, yeah, it's got that maximum width of 1000 pixels, but 1000 isn't very good. Let's change that to 1400 maybe. There we go. That's a little bit better. What happens if we go to 1000? I don't know, 700. I feel like that's I feel like my screen isn't even that wide. Yeah, my screen's more like 1200. All right, so we want to set max width, but we also want to go full width to make sure we hit that maximum width. Let's try that now. Okay, cool. So now let's change this to 1100. All right, maybe a little bit more space. Let's change it to 1300. Nice. Okay, that looks good. And now when we go to like something ridiculously wide, it's still going to look good. So scroll down a little bit. Wider, 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 wider. Even if I go to, like, I'm doing this right off the screen here, and that's still kind of a good width to me. In fact, I might allow it to go just slightly wider than that even. So let's go 1,400. Nice. I think we've nailed that. So that should be, is that right? Does that actually say 1,400 is the width? This is doing my head in. What is its width? Oh, yeah. 1,400. All right, cool. All right, so I've got about 1 minute left. What am I going to do with that 1 minute? We might get rid of the green and start doing a little bit of styling on this now. So, oh, actually, once again, I need to go back to, need to get used to this, going back to the checklist. So that's been done now. We've set the different column widths. Set positioning and aligning for the content. Yep, we've already done that. We've already set that max width, so that really should have been a separate step. It's okay, I'm going to get better at this. And then we're going to style the content. So this is the last step where we actually make it look good. Accidentally added a breakpoint there. Right. So I'm going to jump in here and let's start styling this content. First of all, I don't want this to be so wide. So I'm going to say max, can I say max width? I might have to say style, max width, and I'll set that to something like maybe 350 pixels. All right, that's still pretty big. Let's say 100 pixels. All right, so that's too small. So let's go to maybe 250. Yep, that's pretty good. And can I say like rounded here? Or do I have to do that in a class? Class equals, I don't know, round? Nope, that doesn't work. I'm pretty sure there's a way you can do this. Oh, anyway, I might have to do that in a style. So let's say border radius is equal to 50%. That's not a big deal. Now we want that to be centered. So this is a column, and now we can say item center. Or is that? Oh, hang on. This is sitting within its own div here. So we want to say full width there, and then say maybe text center. Let's see what that does. So that's going to center it. By the way, now that we're doing design, I can start getting rid of these green colors so that it looks a little bit better. There's another background green. We'll get rid of all of those. Nice, and we'll get rid of this background green as well. And we get another one here. Nice! All right, this is starting to shape up. Next, I might actually turn this into a card. So let's see what happens if we turn that directly into a cue card. That worked pretty well. And now we can start using card sections. I still think this is too wide. 200 maybe is the maximum. That didn't do anything. Maybe 180 as the max width. Why isn't that doing anything? Oh, weird. I needed to refresh the page. So what I might do in order to get the margining here is just add cue card sections for all of these parts. We could even turn this into a cue card section. Let's turn the whole thing. Cue-card-section. All right, that's totally spazzed it out. Maybe it's because I'm using column here, so I need to take control myself. Anyway, that's fine. Let's throw a text center here so that our text all over the place is centered. And now we probably don't need it there anymore. Nice. Let's change the text here by saying class is equal to text-gray-9. And then we'll say text-weight-bold to bolden his name a little bit there. And now we want to set a font size. And I always just use styling for this to give me control, because I always want to just change my font however I like. Font size is equal to 1.3 EMs. Let's go with that and see how that looks. You know what? I think I hit the nail on the head first go there. So let's go with that. I'm going to steal all that, whack it in there. And now let's play with this a little bit. So how about we set that equal to 10? Yeah, we'll make that a little bit darker. And now all of this could probably be its own cue card section. So let's say cue-card-section. Is that going to mess it up? No, I reckon that looks pretty good. Why is that not centered anymore? Okay, so we've got a max width on the image. We don't need that max width there, though. And there we go. That looks good. We probably do want a max width on the entire card though. So let's say style is equal to max dash width, and maybe set that equal to something like 500 pixels. Okay, that's too much. So let's say 400 pixels. That looks a little bit better to me, but I reckon 380 would be nice. Yep, 380 pixels. All right, so that's looking pretty good. This is looking too bold to me. So let's say text weight. In fact, let's get rid of the text weight and see what we get there. Okay, I think that looks really good. That looks really, really nice. I don't know about this line here. I think I want to make it a little bit fatter. Let's just separate this a little bit. Separate the distance to the separator. So I like the margining on that. We probably need a little bit more on the top, or maybe just on the top. So let's say margin top is equal to small. Let's set it to medium. There we go. That looks a bit better to me. And now, how about we say size? Can I do that and set it to like 4 pixels? What does that do? Yeah, all right. That's not bad. Let's give it a color. Actually, let's leave the color as it is for now, and maybe set some padding on either side. I don't know. Do I like it separate? I don't know if I like it striking all the way through there. In fact, I don't know if I like it at all. Yeah. We didn't really need it. I don't think we really need it. I don't know. Now let's say Q, padding or large there. And I think we've got a pretty nice looking testimonial section here. I don't know. What did I end up with before? That's what I ended up with before. I think what we've got here is actually nicer than that. It's much nicer than that. And now let's see if it works on bigger screens as well. So full screen that. And I think it does. You could probably play around with this and make it look a little bit better. You know, add a little bit of your own style. One thing I might do is change the shadow a bit. I feel like it's too shadowed. What if we go shadow 1 there? Let's go shadow 2. Shadow 1. Yeah, I actually like shadow 1 a little bit nicer there. Yeah. And we could probably add like a little color to the bottom. So how about we say border bottom and add like a 3 pixel border on the bottom, 3 pixels solid black, just to see if it works. Yeah, now we might just add a little bit of fun to it by giving it its own color. So what I'll do is I'll say, we'll turn this into a template string. And I can say bottom. We might even just say color there. Yeah, color. Why isn't that working? Oh, need to make sure that's interpreted. Now we'll go to our props and let's add a color in here. And by default, we might set it to primary. And it's going to be a string. And that blatantly didn't work. Because what we actually need to do is we need to use Quasar's color component to convert it into a hexadecimal. That's why it's not working there. So I'm going to import colors from Quasar, and that's actually meant to be as an object like so. There's a way that we can get a color. How do I do that? I need the Quasar docs. Oh, they're sitting right here. So let's jump down to the bottom here. Quasar utils. Why isn't that working? Oh, there we go. Color utils. And now we just want to be able to grab a color. Light and luminosity blend, change alpha, helpers, get palette color. And that's what I want here. So now I can basically pull get palette color out of, is equal to colors. And that's just going to help with tree shaking. So now we want to make that, now we want to expose that. Data, return, So that's now exposed it. Get palette color. Why is it complaining there? Oh, it doesn't like my order of things. My linter isn't fixing it for me. Lazy linter. Ugh. There we go. So now we should be able to say get palette color on this color here. So we can easily pass in any color of our choosing. Nice. Nice. That is looking really, really good. And now what we can do is set different colors here very easily like so. So this, we could go like primary. Oh, how about we say like blue, purple, green. Just add a little bit of fun here. All right, I didn't like purple. Oh, because I spelled it wrong. Yep. Yep. I really like that. The last thing I'm going to do is restrict that width a little bit because I think it's getting slightly too wide. So let's make it 350 instead. And I think that looks really good. So I'm happy with that. That's our testimonials section. I just want to quickly fix the text at the top of it. And how are we going to do that? What's the best way to do that? How about we say if the column is greater than small, then we set it to 8. And if the column is greater than medium, we make it even smaller by setting it to 6. All right, so once we make that bigger, it flips again. Oh, I don't like that. They should definitely have a little bit of margining on the outside. I can't margin them though because they're sitting within a column and that doesn't work properly. So how about this? Q-margin all, and we just set it to something like medium. Yep, it means that we never end up with them sitting side by side too closely. Cool. And now once we get to a larger size, yeah, that testimonial section will still look good. Okay, so now let's change the text there. And this is where we do like a little bit of the fun stuff. We might make this a little bit... Do we need to do anything to that? Really, we just want to change like the text to a gray of 9. So it's a little bit more understated. And then I think I had some text already for this. I'm just going to blatantly copy paste it. Let's go to our landing testimonial. No, what is it? I had this example page. Where is it? Ah, sitting over there. Bam. Blah, 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 blah. Let's copy that. And we're going to whack it over there. Hello, Emmanuel. I think I've seen you around quite a bit, Emmanuel. Where are you from? I like to see familiar faces in these streams. By the way, I'm almost done. So sorry if you just showed up. I got to go have dinner with my girlfriend. Sunday night over here. And dinner with a movie with my girlfriend. What could possibly be better? Nothing. Now let's set the size of that. And I always use style when I set sizes. So we'll say font-size is equal to 1.2 EM. You can use, like, Quasar gives you some bodies by default, but I find that I just like to have that little bit of extra, I guess, sort of extra control. Maybe 3. Yeah, let's go with that. Now I don't know. I think I tend to go a little bit too small, to be honest. Let's go larger in general. Let's change that from a H4 to a H3. Yeah, I actually think that looks a lot better. It looks nice on a large screen. Let's see the whole thing in context, and then I am going to finish up this video. So now if we go to landing page responsive, which is the one I'm currently working on here, and we set all of these VIFs. So I basically VIF everything, so it's really easy to turn it on and off. And let's set them all equal to true. And there we go. 1 to 2 app to rule them all. That doesn't look too bad, at least in my opinion, for my terrible design experience. And then we got these different sections. They should be centered. I need to fix that. I'll fix that later. Yeah, so basically if it's on a small screen size, they should be centered. And then it should use the aligning if it's not on a small screen size. And then we've got this little like call to action section. And then we've got our testimonials in here. I've changed my mind about the cards. I'm going to come back to the testimonials. And let's get rid of this shadow one. It's just not enough. Yeah, now that I've added the color to the bottom, I think that still looks really good. Very nice. Very, very nice. Now, if we go to a larger size, it still looks absolutely beautiful. At least in my opinion. Cool. I mean, one thing I'll do down the line is I'll start adding more space to the sections themselves. So the last thing I do when I'm finished with the whole thing is I'll go, like, for example, to this testimonial section. In fact, let's add this as a last thing in the list. Set sizings for all sections. Sizings, maybe spacing. And that's kind of giving you like the overall view of the whole thing for when you're done. What did I say I was going to do? I can't remember now. Yeah, man, I'm really happy with this. I can't wait to actually start teaching this stuff. And for those of you that want a bit of a sneak peek, you'll be the first people to see this. This is the app that I'm actually working on. So it's a to-do app. I'm using my own API on the back end, so you don't have to install an API. You just simply tap into mine, and then we can say like my to-do list, make it blue, give it an icon, create that. It automatically uses my special backend. So now when you refresh the page, it goes ahead and fetches all of those lists. It's really, really cool. So I need to hook this into the back end as well. And we're going to be adding search. We're going to have this logout button that we can use to log out. You'll be able to add new to-dos. It's going to be lots of fun. I think the design of this is really nice too. And it works on all these different sizes. Ooh, that's pretty bad. Let's come down here. Yeah, it's going to work really nice on all of these different, all the different breakpoints. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I have had an absolute blast. And hey, check out quasarcast.com/register if you're interested in videos and streams like this. This is where I actually throw all of my content. And there's going to be content available in the future that won't be on YouTube, that will be on quasarcast.com. So I just go to quasarcast.com. Then this is where you can like view all of my courses, jump into the, view the podcasts as well. These are the podcasts that we have. We've currently only got Quasar Life, but these two are coming soon. You can see like the episodes of the Quasar show in there. This gives you a little bit of a background on my story. And yeah, there's actually quite a bit of stuff already sitting here within the site. I highly recommend the Quasar Components series and the Quasar Getting Started guide if you're new to Quasar. So thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to finish this Getting Started guide. Oh, database says, hey man, I started building with Quasar, making something with Workona meets Replit Cluey. I don't know what that means. I have some suggestions for carousel video. How do I... To connect with me, the best way to do it is through Discord. But does Quasar have rows? I only see columns in the grid system. Yeah, it's got rows. In fact, that's exactly what we were working on today. So I'll show you a quick example, then I've really got to go because I'm going to have dinner with my girlfriend, whom I absolutely love and adore. Yeah, so we got rows, and you've got stuff like justify center, justify between, all that kind of stuff. And you've also got columns if you want to change it into a column. And we're using all of that kind of stuff, all of that kind of stuff is going to be taught in this Getting Started guide. So we're going to be building this landing page, which works really nicely responsively. So that's what this is what I was working on today, these two sections here. And if we go to up and down, it looks really good in a smaller layout as well. And it should look good in a mobile as well. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, so even like crazy small layouts like this, let's change it to something at least a little bit bigger, are going to look really nice. And I've done all of that pretty much purely using Quasar stuff. You know, sometimes I jump out of Quasar land and use some style tags like this. This is like a regular pattern that I do myself. I like to commit to Quasar's classes as much as I can. Then I use style tags, and when I desperately need a pattern that I repeat over and over again, I simply create my own utility classes like this. That's how I do layouts. That's why I never use things like Tailwind. I have built some pretty crazy apps and have never touched utility libraries like Tailwind because this just gives me everything I need. And like honestly, look at that style tag. It's nothing. I have all of that flexibility now of styling, and I think it looks totally fine to me. So that's how I do gosh, I'm getting a bit off track here, but that's how I handle styling. Go all in with Quasar's utility classes. They are fantastic. Learn them, go all in with them, and you will be able to build just about any layout that you can possibly think of. Then, if you need to add styling, just add a style tag on there directly. That's what people are doing these days. And you know what? I do it because it's easy. Some people hate this. I don't care. I do it because it's easy and it works for me. And it allows me to hit all of the scenarios that I need. Then if you desperately need it, start adding your own styling like so, adding your own utility classes. And then if you really, really need that extra flexibility and you're basically doing the entire thing from scratch, then you might want to look at something like Tailwind. But honestly, unless you have like a designer who's demanding some seriously crazy designs, this is how I handle designing. Calc and only... Yeah, that's a good point. So the reason I had Calc here originally was if I go to my not my main layout, if I go to my basic layout here, what I was doing, and I'll probably add it back in, is I had a header. How was I doing this? I think I had like a Q-header. No, you know what? You wouldn't do it that way. What I was doing is I was saying style is equal to border top, and then I gave it like 3 pixels solid blue or something like that. I'd probably have like a more custom color. And I was adding just that little border at the top to add a little bit of extra styling. And then when I had that, I was then saying minus 3 pixels. So that's why I had the calc in there, so that I could just get that alignment perfect. But you're right, it should just say 100 view height. Now that I don't have this at the top anymore, that's totally fine. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for watching. I really appreciate your attention. Check out quasarcast.com/register if you like my stuff. If not, I really look forward to seeing you in the next stream. I always have a lot of fun with these, and I cannot wait to show you my Quasar Getting Started guide. So I'll see you in the next stream.